Well, thank you, everybody. I would like to start by introducing myself. I am George Antico, founder and CEO of eAutoclub.com. And this is a great opportunity for our team to show you what we've been working on. What we're going to discuss is the digital transformation that is taking place in every industry, and there are several technologies that have contributed to this. We have been working in the aftermarket on the service side, in particular, working with repair shops, doing service history analytics to predict service needs. So with that, let's get started and talk about the aftermarket supplier's futurescape. And this is where we will introduce fleet service management for aftermarket vehicles. And this, of course, is a huge population of vehicles. There's 240 million of them, and 70% of those are being serviced by the aftermarket. What's coming, of course, is autonomous vehicles. And this presents a very transformative situation where vehicle ownership will change. Right now, we, of course, buy our own vehicles, and we are the only ones that have access to these vehicles. But with autonomous vehicles, things will change dramatically. And the biggest change is that the vehicle will drive up to our doorstep at the time that we need them. They will take us to the office, and then the vehicle will move on for other functions to stay productive during the day and actually perhaps all night. And in the evenings, whenever we have time to go home, the vehicle will pick us up. And similarly for any other family needs, whether it's picking up groceries, taking the kids to baseball practice, all of these things are going to be done by the vehicles without drivers. This allows the family transportation to be acquired as a service as opposed to ownership of a piece of equipment or a vehicle. This is what is also known as timeshare ownership, and the car rental business is going to evolve to take the huge fleets that they have, and now because these fleets are going to be autonomous, they are in a position to provide this service to the population. So in order for this, for the aftermarket to survive this transformation, what we really need is to standardize our procedures and our pricing. And what I'm referring to here is that if the aftermarket remains in its current state, where every shop has their own management systems and their own services are priced differently, and each one of them has a different invoicing system. The big business, the owners of these fleets, the autonomous vehicle fleets, are going to take their business to franchises or dealerships that will provide them with a single payer system. And I start with this just to make that as a goal that we need to move the aftermarket into a standardized service environment with standard procedure terms, pricing, and billing. So let's think of digital initiatives as a native. I am quoting here IDC, and these are the industry leaders in predictions, and they're saying that we are at an inflection point, and that over the next 3 to 4 years, there's a huge digital transformation that is taking place, and industries will no longer be looking at this as projects or initiatives, but they will look at this in effect as the way to grow the business, and no matter what industry they're in, this will become a central focus for all of us. Right now, our IT departments are one of the branches, and usually the IT guys are the ones that think about software and solutions to business objectives. But this is changing now, where all employees and executives will operate this way. Uber is a great example, together with others, such as Amazon or Airbnb. And the focus is the consumer. And the consumer is where everything starts, the demand for our products. So in Uber's case, they didn't crush the taxi industry with better taxis. They did it by delivering a superior consumer service experience. This is going to be an ongoing thread, and we will discuss how the aftermarket can learn from Uber. And there are certain technologies that are causing an acceleration in the development of new technologies, and this will have a profound effect in all industries. Especially the introduction of artificial intelligence or machine learning. It is a huge accelerator to the implementations of technology, and so the timelines have been compressed. The third platform is referred to by IDC as the technologies we're familiar with, which have to do with mobile, social media, cloud storage, and also big data analytics. So the key term here is whoever embraces these accelerators earlier will have big competitive advantages. And so with that in mind, what should the aftermarket do in order to benefit from these? We believe that the aftermarket needs to have fleet service management for the family-owned vehicle. And this is in a big job, and we're going to go over the steps on how we might make this happen. What we need to do is deliver a cognitive AI that tracks part lubricant and fluid replacements, and then computes that against the daily mileage for vehicle usage. And what this would do is create demand for the aftermarket services by communicating accurately with the vehicle owner and providing them with incentivized promotions to encourage them acting on it. So here is the vision, that the aftermarket will transform itself by aggregating shop service data. That means the isolated systems would now be connected together. The data would be uploaded to the cloud. An AI system would apply predictive analytics to determine what services are needed. And this information would be available to the shop at the front counter. and in effect providing fleet service management for the family-owned vehicle. And the vehicle owners would trust the underlying process because it's machine-driven, and we are separating the service recommendations from the potential desire of a shop to sell a service, thus giving more credibility to these recommendations. Now, this is a big job, and what's required is data aggregation and normalization. And this has to do with the fact that there's a lot of shop management systems out in the industry, in our industry. Cloud storage, of course, so that we would load it to a single repository. We would need to decipher the information, so we would need cognitive technology or artificial intelligence to provide fleet management. And then these conclusions would be delivered back to the repair shop so that they see what the fleet of vehicles that they have in their database, what services they require, and this would deliver for the vehicle owner a superior service experience by having a predictable service management system that they can trust. So let's talk about the current reality. And of course, repair shop management systems, you may not know this, but they do not track service needs. Shop management systems are very sophisticated in many ways, but one thing they do not do is they cannot interpret the history that is being entered into it. The shop management system doesn't know the difference between a tire rotation and a coolant flush, and it doesn't even compute how much the vehicle is driven, and it doesn't apply recurring service intervals. The CRM industry, similarly, does not have that capability either. What they're doing is they're quoting the manufacturer based on a certain odometer, whether or not a vehicle needs a particular service. There are over 100 management systems in use in our industry, each with unique schemas, and this also creates a complexity which is in the aggregation of the data requires a lot of transformation before we are able to analyze it. We also, of course, have, as in shop management systems, shops can call services whatever they want, and the entry of these labor descriptions and part numbers evolve over time. In other words, there is no standard that can be applied. And also the communication between the part suppliers and the shops is very weak. For us to do a promotion today, we need to send a fax to the shop and or mail, a stack of papers and basically recommend that these are the promotions for the month. And now the shop needs to contact their printer, and the process is just very inefficient, and implementation is spotty at best. So the biggest problem we have in the aftermarket as suppliers is that we have zero visibility into the population of vehicles and their service needs. So what's required? The first and most important thing is we need access as suppliers to the repair shop's service data. And not just once, we need it on an ongoing basis in order for this strategy to work. And this would mean that it would have to be an opt-in process. And in order to get a shop to opt in, we would need to deliver substantial value. Primarily, what the shop needs is fleet service management. And for the shop owners, and you may not know this, when a vehicle comes in, there is really no visibility in regards to what services are needed. If my customer's been in 14 times, let's say, I can go through the invoices and I can look and I can flip back through time to see what was done when, But I would also have to calculate and say, okay, this was done, at this odometer. Today's odometer is this much, and you need to do the math, and it just is so slow that it doesn't get done. So what do? We take the vehicle, we give it to the technician, and then the technician is the one that's tasked with filling out an inspection form, which then the service writer comes to the vehicle owner and says, here's what we found. And of course, the body language tells it right away. The customer's already crossing their arms and pulling back and saying, oh boy, here we go. And it's the upsell that is so unpleasant. So this is done because the technology in use today is not able to decipher the service records. So providing repair shops with affordable fleet service management and CRM services is a sure way to get them to participate in the program, thus giving the aftermarket access to repair service data. The ethics are going to be paramount, especially in a social media world. The system will have to be such that we avoid anti-competitive practices at all levels. In particular, repair shop vendor purchasing history and part pricing information would remain private, not available to anybody outside the shop, and the customer contact information would be also proprietary to the shop. But other than that, the service data and what we call blind service data for year, make, model specific vehicles would be easily shared by shops, and they would not have a problem with it. Back to IDC and their prediction, they are talking about the DX economy as a digital transformation economy. They predict that by 2020, 50% of the 2,000 biggest company will have the majority of their business depend on their ability to create digital products that enhance the service experience. So this is at the core of what we need to do in the automotive aftermarket in order to properly compete with the dealerships and with anybody else that's may come in from outside of our industry. So prediction number 2. By 2019, and again, the third platform technologies are what exists today, they will be growing at twice the rate of the regular IT, in particular with the social business, cloud for aggregation, and then big data analytics, and then providing it through a mobile platform. The third prediction from IDC, they are predicting that by 2020, software spending will be focused on cloud-based, and that it will be morphed to becoming distributed, and the key here is trusted, intelligent, industry-focused, and channel-mediated to provide the consumer with a superior experience. And the fourth prediction is that by 2019, 100% of all effective efforts will be supported by cognitive and artificial intelligence capabilities. Now here's what we really want to be doing by 2020. But let's focus on what we need to do in the aftermarket for repair shops, and how would we provide fleet service management. So the first thing is we need to move the service histories to the cloud. There, we need to aggregate it and normalize it so that computers can digest this, and cleanse it so that the service data it can then be processed through cognitive technology and artificial AI to predict what services vehicles actually need. And then we need to give it back to the shop so that they can communicate this information to the vehicle owners. This will create automotive service personalization that will exceed the dealership's experience. And this is really key at this point to talk about how the aftermarket depends on the success it has had in the past, where the reason why vehicle owners bring 70% of their service needs to the independents is because of the personal touch. By providing truly intelligent aging of parts, lubricants, and fluids, we will be able to deliver the most economical maintenance program money can buy by never replacing a part, lubricant, or fluid before it's actually needed based on the actual driving habits of the vehicle owner. So what would this look like? By having the information on the cloud, we are now, as part suppliers, we're able to identify which shops are participating in the fleet service management, because they would show up on our dashboard. We will then identify part needs, lubricant or fluid needs, by vehicle or territory. Then we would be able to communicate and invite shops with a single click. It could be a text message to the cell phone of the shop owner and say, would you like to participate in the air filter campaign, windshield wipers, or brake pads? And a single click would opt in the shop, and then the marketing promotion would be communicated directly to the vehicle owner. This is the vision, where now we create demand at the point of origination, which is really the vehicle owner, in a way mimicking what Uber does. Whenever you're on the side of the road and you need a ride, it is now initiated through an incentivized promotion, for example, to the vehicle owner, say, hey, you need that air filter. If you get it serviced in the next 7 days, we give it to you 50% off, or whatever the campaign is. Now, shop owners are strapped for cash, and I do this in good humor. I come from the service industry. I'm an ex-shop owner, so I get to poke at my industry. But the adoption of this transformation, digital transformation, is directly linked to our ability to provide point-of-sale fleet service management, automate the appointment setting for the vehicle owner, also collect reviews online, because this is really important for the shops, and it's also important for us to maintain an industry level quality level. Automate the marketing for the shop, provide the base services free or almost free, and customize the promotions so that they're relevant to the recipient. And this is the opposite also of spamming, because we would only contact those vehicles that actually need the service as opposed to everybody in the database. So the digital transformation building blocks are: the third platform is what has taken 10, 15 years to develop, and we are all familiar with these, with social media and the cloud, big data analytics, and mobile friendly promotions. What is accelerating the change are multiple things, and you see those in the blue area. We are focusing on two of them: 3D printing, robotics, virtual reality or augmented reality, and next generation security are all important. But in particular for us, with cars, we've got the telematics and ODB2 connection with real-time diagnostic of the vehicle, and cognitive systems where we can interpret the service history, make sense out of it, and provide communication to the vehicle owner as needed. the real difference between ODB2 and cognitive AI is that real-time information doesn't tell us anything about the past of services that may have aged and that are needed again. So this is where we need the combination of the two in order to have a full view of service needs. We have built the ability now for the aftermarket to create a promotion, to track which shops are participating, track the open rates, and then look at real time how the promotion is doing. This is the end goal, and we can do this with predictive service, fleet service management for the family-owned vehicle. Some of the technology that is required has to do with AI, artificial intelligence, and this is a really good video that I highly recommend it if you want to take a look at things. But basically, it's the ability of computers now to go through supervised learning. We can teach it how to figure out what service is needed, and this is a neural network where the nodes are decision points, where we do a computation and we end up with a result, and that result is then combined with other results to get fine-tuned decision trees where we can, with a high degree of accuracy, determine what services are needed and which are not. This is an example of a fleet service management screen for a vehicle, and in this case, you can see the three areas: what services are needed, what is not needed, and then what has never been done. This is very important for the vehicle owner to see that the system is stopping the shop from selling something prematurely, and this is, of course, the only way to get buy-in from a customer's perspective. This is a report that a shop owner would have access to, where they can track the services, and they can see that wheel balancing they're going to need in 15 days, oil change in 19 days, batteries, it's 8 months over, and so forth. But they can also see tire rotation, they're going to need it in 19 days. Actually, I said that the other way around. It's 15 days overdue and 19 days overdue, and the tire rotations are going to be needed in 19 days and 3 months, etc. So with that, we conclude our presentation. If we have any time, we will be showing you live what the technology looks like. This is nothing we've shown you here is a mock-up, but actually real software that's in use. And just to give you some perspective of the power of this technology, we share with you Tom Gabby. He's a real good customer, has been with us 11 years. And this is an example of what can happen with a 3-bay shop and the impact that implementing a systematic flagging of service needs can have for a small business, which will fuel the ongoing participation in this type of program. Well, thank you very much, and we will be staying around and answer questions if you have any.